and I think it's almost precisely time to start the webinar. So today, Yvon will be the chair of JAC. So can you take the microphone?
Yes. Okay. So welcome everybody. It's my great pleasure to be among the organizers of this series of seminar, and I'm particularly delighted to introduce Jacques. So I know Jacques for about 40 years now. So even if it seems to be yesterday, it's quite a long time. And so I must say that Jacques had a profound importance in my curricula, because I met him so when I was a young researcher. I just got out from the PhD thesis, and he was the first example for me, a leader who is able to be at the same time a mathematician, a medical doctor, a biologist. And so I was really impressed when I was so young to see someone of this stature to be able to speak so well about all these aspects and be the interdisciplinary in life. So we met many times and had a lot of interesting discussion, and it has always been a pleasure for me to hear his talks. And my only regret is not to be so young anymore, because I would be involved in many research trajectory that he presents at each time with so different aspects. And this is what is important, because after these 40 years, you are as young as the first time I met you. So Jacques has been a professor at Jacques Fourier University in Grenoble. He has been, of course, a leader in this, and he has been also the director of many initiatives. I will not present all of them, and I will give him the floor now. He will speak about the modeling of COVID-19 outspread dynamics involving geoclimatic and demographic factors.
Okay, thank you very much, Yvon. I will start with a recall about the first model in epidemic dynamics, the model by Bernoulli. You know him. Practically all ingredients were present in the Bernoulli model. It was a paper sent from Basel to the Académie Royale des Sciences in Paris, and he has described finally a SIR model. His first picture was only with susceptible and immune, but if you have to go further in the equations, in fact, we have the presence, lambda of R is the concentration of the infected people. And he has done that for the variola, because the king of France was sick of variola. He died from variola. Louis the 15th. And here we have, since the beginning, the cross term between concentration of the infected and concentration of susceptible. Practically all was in the equation at this time. Alors finally, Ross, who got the Nobel Prize at the beginning of the last century, improved a bit, but not really. Macrenic a bit also, but it was only extrapolation of the Bernoulli first model. It was not a real break mathematically and medically speaking. Bon, alors since the first model is the SIRS, because the recovery can be anew after losing the immunity, can be anew susceptible, okay? The equation, you know, it's not important to see. And finally, if you see the best paper for me, and the first and the best concerning the COVID dynamics, focused on the problem of reported and unreported cases was a paper by Pierre Magal, and Glenn, who will follow me during this session. And it's an excellent paper in which the center, the master equation are exactly the same, or there is another variable devoted to the unreported. But if you are looking inside the equation, it's exactly the Bernoulli spirit in this mathematical approach. Now, parallelly to this ODE approach, there was a probabilistic approach, which is discussed by D'Alembert, because D'Alembert has had a certain role in the publication of the Bernoulli paper. He was not so clear with Bernoulli because he has changed, but not a lot, the Bernoulli equation, but by introducing a probabilistic view. Alors, it's interesting to see this paper by Delbrück, done in 40, last century, because in fact, he extracted the Bernoulli master equation from an underlying random process. This process was used in the following spirit. It was not for modeling epidemic, but for modeling chemical reaction. But finally, the result was exactly the same. If you are assimilating a chemical species to a population susceptible or infected, there is meeting, there is a change of susceptible in infected, etc. There is a lot of similarities. It's an excellent paper. Alors, there is a tradition after the Delbrück work. Alors, Bernoulli, D'Alembert, introduction of a bit probability. Lambert has also been involved in this modeling, and he was more on the statistical side. And after that, there was two descendancies. The descendant passing through the Delbrück random process modeling are going now to these people working on multi-agent or IBM discrete models. It's an interesting way to consider epidemic modeling. And those are passing through Verhulst, Ross, I have cited him, McKendrick, who was initially, before doing mathematics, he was a physician, and he has been director of the Pasteur Institute of Kausali in India. And after that, you know, Fischer, genetician, KPP, and this tradition is ODE, NPD, continuous model. Both are still existing, and for certain diseases, it's more interesting to choose the IBM discrete approach, and for others, the PD. Alors, the central parameter is this famous R0. The R0 can be defined. It's interesting to see that many newspapers in France, in Le Monde, for example, on the website of Le Monde, or in UK, the Telegraph, are defining in many times since the start of the COVID outbreak, it's R0, and French population, probably UK one, have a certain habit to see this is revolving in time, etc. If R0 is superior to 1, greater to 1, that corresponds to perhaps a new wave of the epidemics. The politics have to reduce R0 by litigation measures, political measures, and they are following R0. There is different way to estimate R0. I have used in this paper a classical way of estimation, and you see in general that the R0 is not constant. And if you follow with this method of estimation, for example, for the Spain, the R0 during, it was between February and May this year, you know, there is, it's nice after the lockdown measures, a reduction of the R0. It's a recent paper accepted in One Health. Probably next week you will see this paper in the journal, a journal of public health. Alors, it's an example of finally different evolution of R0. All the tendency correspond to progressively passing under the barrier well, because if you have an R0 less than 1, it's not an epidemic, it's an endemic. There is still virus circulating, there is still ill people, but there is in certain cases, especially, for example, now in India, etc., to have several waves. If there is a new increase of R0, of course, it's a new wave preparing its bad work. Alors, the restrictions to the Bernoulli model, often citing the restriction, probably if there is a big difference between the susceptible population size and the infected population size, it's probably like in chemical kinetics, better to use the Michaelian term with a saturation than the pure cross Bernoulli term. Very often, we suppose that the population is stable, that is, the fecundity is equal to the natural mortality. It's not, in some cases, if the disease, for example, has a long dynamics, it's of course not the case. If the population is heterogeneous, is the case for the COVID, young and aged people, elderly have not absolutely the same susceptibilities as the young people. And okay, you have probably to have two sets of equations corresponding to young, adult, and elderly. And a big problem is that the R0 is a mean calculated along the period of the infectious period, the period of infectiousness or contagion. Each individual has not the same R0 for the first day of the contagion period and the last. And the very interesting detail is, in fact, each day of the contagious person, you have a local R0 corresponding, for example, to one descendant, that is one new infected person the first day, 3 the day 4, and for example, only 1 after 6 or 7 days of contagiosity. And to have the distribution, of course, V over R0, over the mean expectation, is a real challenge. And practically nobody except my friend Demetrius has attacked this problem from the data we have. Have a lot of data. Extract this distribution is very, very important, because that open to extraordinary rich arsenal of methods we cannot use if you have not this distribution. Alors, a way to have an idea of the dependency of the new case on the new case at time t-1, etc., is the ARIMA model. Of course, it's a statistical model which is probably less powerful than the ODE approach by Bernoulli, but it's interesting to see that inside the model, you have this idea of dependency of with different alpha, representing a bit the distribution V over R0. And it's a good way in general to do a first description of the dynamics. Alors, the paper probably will appear in some, but it is still in evaluation of paper. Alors, that consists to see data, to extract the tendency with a mobile window, that is, for example, suppress this small variation by averaging along a window of sufficient length. And after that, to play with the regressive term, sigma of alpha I times x t minus I, and also with a noise. And by playing with that, we can, by looking at the coefficient alpha, you can compare these coefficients. In general, the best fit has been obtained for a length of contagiosity equal to 6, we can discuss. But some studies are showing, it's one of the first German studies here, are saying that probably the maximum of contagiosities is after 3 or 4 days after the first symptoms, and probably the length is between 4 and 6, and after that you have a big decrease of the effectiveness of the virulence. We have published a paper in February on that, and with the ARMA, you can do forecasting with a prediction. Of course, this prediction has, because you have a statistical model, a certain band with a mean and when standard deviation to standard deviation in pink. And in this prediction, for example, for Morocco and France, it was not so bad, but not excellent. It was better for France than for Morocco. We have done that, and but you need, if there is a big change, for example, in the model, if you are in the linear prediction in the logarithmic regression, it's not the same. Donc before the inflection point, that after that, it's completely different. You have to change the ARIMA model in the saturation part of the cumulated cases curve. The dependency of these parameters, geoclimatic and demographic. We have remarked that finally, if you are looking at the gradient of temperature in France, there is a northeast-southwest gradient. That was exactly the same for the incidence in March of the COVID, and the French government has decided local lockdown, and after that lockup, respecting this gradient. And if you are looking, it's here a succession of data corresponding to incidence in the hospital, mortality in the hospital, lethality in the hospital. And it's each case, finally in France, you have grosso modo exactly the same gradient in each part. The false color correspond in red, for example, the maximum incidence in South Alsace, and Bordeaux there was nothing in February, March. That has changed a lot. Considering that probably the temperature and humidity, etc., was concerned by this gradient, but we have studied for each French region the correlation between incidence data, mortality data, and the mean temperature during these months. That is essentially April, May, etc. And we have proved that there was an anti-correlation. If the temperature was high, the number of cases was. We have done that for practically all the country. We have published that in the same paper of February in biology. For the second one, it was more tricky, because we have seen that the best fit was with a parabolic regression. That is, some country with a high temperature, finally, because they were probably having some demographic parameters completely different than the countries with a mild temperature were not respecting the same rule of dependency on temperature. Alors, after that, there was another critical thing, that is after the first wave, we have looked, for example, relatively rapidly, because it was, I think, at the beginning of May for Iran, there was the beginning of a second wave. And in country, for example, like Argentina, Iran at this time was in winter, Argentina was in summer. And in Argentina, the second wave, at this exactly the same time, was detectable only with the slope of this regression model. In Wisconsin, we have looked in June to a third wave. There is some states in USA in which after the first in February, the second in March, April, in May, June, July, we had a third wave. Alors, we have published that in medRxiv, and in biology, I think it's not still published. Alors, the other geoclimatic parameters are, for example, the altitude. Finally, it was not so bad. If you are plotting, we have done that for the third wave, for example, the slope of the logarithmic regression. R2 dot 35 is probably for R dot 6 is dot 6. Well, it's not so bad. There is a tendency to have, for example, Senegal is on the sea border. There is no mountains in Senegal. In Morocco, with about the same climate, you have a lot of very beautiful mountains, the Atlas, and of course, the difference can be explained by altitude. The altitude is favoring, for example, the action of ultraviolet rays on the virus, provoking mutations. Or certain mutations are favorable to the virus, but in the COVID, many mutations are either neutral or defavorable to the virus. The latitude, you have also, if you are looking at the latitude and calculating R0, you have an effect. Alors, this paper has been, will be published probably next week if you want all the explanation. Donc, vous voyez, elevation, latitude, temperature, you have studied humidity, etc. Bon, there is a lot of geoclimatic parameters you can study in order to understand better the disease. Alors, the genomic factor, it's complicated. If you are looking at the map of the diabetes, it's the same than the map of the incidence. Alors, what is the origin of these studies? In fact, you are injecting in the cell of the host fragments of the viral genome. Fragments of RNA genome in the cell acting on the metabolism are provoked by microRNAs. That's a classical explanation of the mode of action of microRNA. MicroRNA are hybriding the messenger RNA before the ribosomal traduction, and in general, they have a big role of inhibition of metabolisms. And in fact, in the past, for example, probably 10,000 years ago, there was attack by RNA virus. And the most terrible RNA was hair virus. And hair virus is still in your not coding RNA. You have practically 2 meters of not coding RNA and only 2 centimeters of coding RNA. And it is in practically all the human genomes. It's considered still as a foreign donc RNA, and permanently you have a reaction of your immune system against the protein of hair, and these antibodies in certain cases are giving a cross immunity against many viruses. Alors, it's a bit the case in COVID, because I have found in the sequence CISPAR, for example, I don't remember, that is probably 15 or 16, as a sequence of 15 or sequence nucleotides. You have exactly this sequence in the protein S gene, the protein S of the COVID. Probably there is a certain cross protection by Hervé for people having this gene in the not coding DNA. And if you are considering that finally the COVID-19 dynamics is similar to retrovirus dynamics, but for what reason the COVID could not play a role similar to a retrovirus like Hervé? I have published in Medical Hypothesis 2 months ago a paper about that. I have systematically searched, not randomly, but have looked at the symptoms. The major symptoms, for example, are concerning the oxygen transportation, concerning the anosmia, concerning the immunologic response, in particular, immunologic response due to interferon track and interferon receptors, etc. In each case, for example, only an example, it concerns the beta globin. On the beta globin, which is very important in the adult hemoglobin, for it's a subunit of adult hemoglobin, very important to transport oxygen. But you can inhibit the beta globin synthesis in the ribosomal traduction by taking a part of the S protein gene and hybridating the messenger RNA of the beta globin, and of course the beta globin, if the RNA messenger is blocked, it's impossible to follow to finish the synthesis of this beta globin. If you have no beta globin, no oxygen transportation, and you know there is many symptoms similar to this defect of oxygen transportation. Alors, the Neanderthal effect, of course, it's a very recent paper in Nature. I have seen here in a certain part of the Neanderthal, I have looked at the Altai intergenic region and the Caucasian, many people are Caucasian, and perhaps the African are protected because they have not this Altai intergenic region, but this pure, it's not a protein action, because the proteins at this level are not still constructed, are not still synthesized. But before, there is only an information effect. If you have a part of the RNA viral genome susceptible to block an important RNA messenger, and you have the possibility to do that. The similarities are not so important as similarities with Hervé, but there exists something that I have exhibited, for example, common sequence with protein S and your Altai part if you are Neanderthal guy. Alors, the demographic factor, very rapidly, there is dependency on the population density in the first wave is true, and we have published, no, it's not still published, but you can find that in medRxiv. Dependency on population density, dependency of age, you know, this effect, the mortality is increasing a lot with in elderly people. And what we have proves that the first wave had a different behavior concerning the age than the second wave. And we have no explanation for that. Between these two dependencies, there is an augmentation, of course, of the incidence with the median age of a country. First wave, it was classical, etc. Probably between the two waves, there is I've tried to study the effect of the D614G mutation, but I have not found something clear about the age, but there was probably an adaptation of the virus to the age of the host, because there is a comportment completely different between the first and the second, and the third has practically the same behavior as the first. Alors, there is models susceptible to play with 2 or 3 different age class, young, adult, and we have probably the data now to have a multi-compartment concerning the age classes. And there is not a lot of papers about that. It's an open, probably an open topic, and I will conclude on that. And thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Jacques, for this very interesting talk. So with including a lot of aspects, it would be indeed very interesting to have a 100 compartment model, maybe going up to centric model. Are there some questions? So you should ask your question with by writing them. If I have well understood, I'm not completely sure how it should work. But if you have questions, you should ask them in the.
They have. It's very interesting, your 100 compartments, because I hope that the last class could have a mortality less than the mortality for the 80s, etc. Because the guy have survived. Probably they have some qualities of survival susceptible to have some different R0, different susceptibility to the COVID. It could be very interesting to see if the grant age could bring to us some parameters different than the force.
So there is a question in the dependence on temperature, was delay effect considered?
Oui. Là, the problem we have now in our model delay, but there is delay, that's sure, and there is probably with the delay also, because if the temperature is increasing, the virus will not immediately have a mutation, and if he has a mutation, after that, this new species has to spread, because it's a kind of new epidemic. After for example, this famous D614G, and it's sure that there is a delay. You are entering in a new season, you have an augmentation of the temperature, and probably have no estimation of this delay. But probably you have to mutate, you have to spread with the new mutated virus, you have to replace the old virus. If you have a Malthusian parameter more important, and you will kill the old species, the old virus, and you have a delay probably of 3 weeks or 1 month, it's sure. That's true.
Okay, other questions?
Quentin.
There's one fun question.
So there is a request of Etienne Pardoux to put your previous slide with the last reference, Jacques. And I just want to mention that you can also use the raise hand functionality of Zoom, and I can allow you to talk.
Yes, and in order to do what?
Typing it.
No, you want to see something, no?
Yes, it's Etienne, maybe.
Alors, he wants to have an answer about
the references.
About the reference.
Yes.
I have not put all the reference in the same slide. I am sorry.
Right.
The reference, I have reference only at the end of slides. Are we okay? I have published 7 papers. Pierre has published probably 10 papers. Glenn has published a lot. Yvon a lot. And with our Quentin, you are publishing. Now there is probably, if you are going on the site of WHO, there is all the papers published. And the papers are genetic papers, for example, purely epidemiologic, purely symptomatic, etc., purely clinical, etc. And there is a section theoretical. In this section theoretical, there is now 150 papers. And on this 150 papers, I think that you 4 or you 3 here have published practically a quarter. Right? It's interesting to see that finally you are representing the core of the researcher interested by the problem. It's not a lot, huh? Probably in the world. Now, except the statisticians, I am taking away all the statistical school of Imperial College, etc. But concerning the classical ODE or ARIMA models, etc., there is probably no more than 30 people publishing. And now you can go on the WHO site, search for the COVID papers. Inside the COVID paper, search for theoretical papers. It's very interesting to see who is publishing and who is the tools, for example, the most used. Alors, ARIMA is now replaced by the GAN, the generalized additive models, because the GANs are probably better than ARIMA in order to represent the probabilistic evolution of the COVID.
Right, just so. Yes. So Etienne wanted to see the last page before the thank you. And there is another question of Amran, who wants to know if there is a general formula for R or not.
What Etienne? Is our Marseille friend, no? Etienne Pardou, no?
Yeah, it's 51, slides 51.
No, but what Etienne is asking that?
51.
Yes. Okay.
This one, yes.
Huh?
Yes.
No, but who is asking for that?
Etienne Pardou, yes.
Etienne Pardou.
C'est Etienne Pardou. I have guessed well, because I was not sure, because I am not seeing him. I'm not seeing the amphitheater, the virtual amphitheater. Are we here? Alors here it's a toy model which has practically nothing because I had no precise data for the COVID. Now it's a toy model showing that it's very easy to have 2 classes evolving in parallel, and alors the important is the cross between them. Alors the cross is due to the fact that if you have, for example, the Young is, but for the Young I have put an extraordinary big R0. It's a bit ridiculous. I wanted to see the evolution. Now, you have absolutely to focus on the fact that both the young infectious and the old infectious can act with different R0, because the old infectious, of course, have probably less contacts with the young than the young with the young. Alors bon, there is something, you are neglecting the entrance of a class into the other class, but if you have 100 classes, you are following the disease along 2 or 3 years, of course, you are also a term giving the aging of S1 population in the S2 population, etc. I mean, it's very easy to play with that. And, but the problem after that, you know, it's already difficult to estimate the B, etc. Look at all the work by Pierre. And here you have to estimate a B per H class, inside H class a B, a marginal B for each day of the contagious time, etc. Well, there is a parameter explosion if you are entering. But probably a way to improve our models is to play with 2 or 3 classes and try to, because the data are so huge now that we can probably profit of this presence of a big databases. In France, we have this health data hub. We can still use it because the Conseil d'État has authorized people to consult health data hub recently. And why not enter in a real? Alors, the age model, there is 2 age. Hein? There is the age of the guy, of an individual in the infectious period, and there is the age of this guy in his proper life. It's completely different. You have 2 age. Oui, c'est.
Commençons avec un tableau. Ici, vous pouvez voir tout ce que fait votre équipe. Les colonnes sont super personnalisables et vous pouvez gérer ce qui est important pour vous. Tout est visuel. Gérez et définissez les priorités.
Je ne comprends pas ce qu'il dit. Alors, attends. You could summarize, Quentin. I'm unable to hear.
Oh, okay. Well, there is a. So who was talking? Is it?
It was Etienne or it was a French, no? No, I have not heard exactly.
So let's move to the next question, maybe.
Yes.
So there is Amran. I will let you talk now. Right. So if you can unmute. Right. So you had a question?
No, it's Etienne talking, no?
No, Etienne is mute.
I muted. No, I am unable to follow.
But you can hear me, right?
No, but I see you. I am hearing you, but Jianlong, I don't hearing him. He's talking?
I don't think so.
Jianlong is talking or not?
I don't think so.
Okay, bon, okay. No problem. We will discuss, okay, after we have the opportunity to discuss.
All right.
Okay, so some more questions? Maybe I have one. So the model of the effect of the temperature on the
Yes.
on the spreading is interesting if you look at France. But what I don't understand is why there is this discontinuity if you look at Germany, and the other discontinuity is that in Italy, because it was also in the north of Italy that there was a large number of people infected, at least in the first part, and so there seems to be a discontinuity between the border between Italy and France, because Marseille was not so infected, the south of France was not so infected at the time, and there is also a discontinuity between Germany and the north of France, where there was a lot of infected people.
No, that's true. But for example, the humidity, the proximity of the sea has a counter effect. The humid heat is not so favorable for the host that the dry heat. For example, dry heat is better to kill the virus or to provoke the mutation of the virus than the humid. And with the humidity, people are saying now that the virus on certain surface can remain alive during 44 days. Maybe if you are mixing the humidity, the elevation, the temperature, you have a lot of geoclimatic. And in fact, it's difficult to isolate, and to have. Alors, the best could to have, for example, cities with the same density, same elevation, same humidity, same temperature. No, not same temperature. You are varying only, for example, one factor. It is very, very difficult to do that. But if you want to enter in the intimity of the mechanism, you have to do that. And it's not surprising. It's global effect, it's global statistical effect. It has been done to say that probably if the second wave will occur in France in summer or at the end of the summer, it could be less dangerous than the first wave at the end of the winter. It's probably not the same effect because there was mutation in France between the winter outbreak and the summer outbreak, but the tendency is probably to have, and why in Chile, for example, that has been terrible, the passage, and more generally in South America, between the winter in January, summer in January, February, and winter in July, August has been terrible. In Santiago de Chile, there was another disease, completely different. That it was in July, for example, it's a terrible season in Chile because it's humid and cold. Each time when I am arriving in general the 15th of July in Santiago, and systematically I have an influenza or a coryza. And probably for the virus, it's very nice to reattack in July in Santiago. It was the case. And the second wave in Chile was completely different from the first case. No,
okay. I think we
general
have
tendencies.
Okay. Thank you, Jacques. So thank you again for that.
Thank you to you. And if somebody wants to discuss I am open to discussion.
Perfect. Okay. So I think we go to the next presentation. So Quentin, maybe you go back.
Okay. So now, okay.